It's not.
And
Hello, YouTube. I think we're live.
yeah, we're
Uh,
trying to figure out how you can be an aunt and a mother at the same time, or the aunt and the mother.
of
Pretty
one single child at the same time, and it is possible, but it is unsavory. I don't think that that's a good topic to open with. I have an article. I actually have uh like all of the articles that I collected all lined up and open now. So, well, hopefully we should be a little bit more streamlined, but let's start with a rocket news article.
good waiting for.
Um, yes, this one comes from Ars Technica. Unfortunately, the uh, the Space Coast has been a little bit quiet, so I don't have much to talk about from my end. I mean, well, there's lots happening, but nothing, no launches, and well, none that I've been awake to see. But lots of rockets going up around the world. So, da, 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 da. SpaceX counted down all the way to T minus zero on Thursday evening in South Texas before a handful of Raptor engines decided not to light at ignition of the rocket. Wow. So, that's intense. It's not clear whether the vehicle can be worked on at the pad or whether Starship will need to be destacked before this can occur. In any case, a few days delay beats a significant issue in flight. Yeah. Well, I mean, if they're not carrying up payloads yet, then it's all engineering and testing. So they could learn something either way. But I guess it's easier to learn those lessons if you have everything all on the ground intact right in front of you to look at. But it's not like the rocket blowing up on its way up is a total loss. You can still collect a lot of data. Um, and when you're at the prototyping stage, that's still really all you're going after is information. So let's see. They say, as always, we welcome reader submissions. So to Ars Technica, if anybody has anything to say, um, yeah. So they say, interesting. They got it all pretty nicely organized. Each report will include information on small, medium, and heavy lift rockets, as well as a quick look ahead at the next three launches. So Vikram 1 rocket gets a launch date. The debut attempt by Skyroot Aerospace of its Vikram 1 rocket is now set for July 18 at 11:30 a.m. local time in India. July 18. Hey, that's today, 11:30 a.m. We've passed that already over there, haven't we? I
Mhm.
wonder if it went up. That would be that would be interesting. Yeah. A major step for India. The new rocket will carry technology demonstration payloads from Graha Space Cosmodrome DCubed. I mean,
You cubed,
D-cubed,
maybe?
D-cubed. Yeah, I don't know. And Skyroot's own scope, along with Cosmos Diamond's artwork, Cosmic Bloom, and a micro art piece. Okay. Um, we've done everything that we could have done to test Vikram 1 on ground, said Pawan Kumar Chanda. Apologies as usual for any pronunciation butchering there. He's co-founder and chief executive of Skyroot. He said that in a emailed news release, Quote, we are eager to see how Vikram 1 performs in real flight environment for the first time. This is our first flight test, and we will be getting valuable data from it. Yes. Um, Japan conducts rocket landing tests. So that's still in small rockets, I think. So I wonder how that sizes up relative to the the Falcon 9s. But Japan's space agency has conducted a flight test, excuse me, a test flight of its experimental reusable rocket in a northern part of the country. The Japan Broadcasting Corporation reports. Huh. JAXA said the rocket took off and landed as planned after reaching a height of about 11 meters. Okay, so they're just up and down. Cool. I
11
mean,
meters, about 30
I
feet,
feel like
right?
the way I said that probably sounded a little bit sarcastic, but it is cool. 11 meters, the first time landing a rocket, that is a pretty difficult feat to do. And so even though, I mean, 11 meters is only about 30 feet, so like roughly the height of a three-story building, but the control system, the physics that they have to do, it scales up, but the technical bits, the feedback controls, the sensor inputs that they need, the outputs from that control system all are basically just scaled up versions of the same sort of electronics and software that would be running the big ones. So, yeah, it is cool. If I sounded sarcastic, that was not intentional. And so the flight lasted about 40 seconds and included a 16-meter horizontal translation relative to the ground before landing. Okay. Yeah. So, 40 seconds. So it's up and over and down. So that's interesting. That's something that has been demonstrated before. Uh, if you look back or want to search the Delta Clipper was back in 1991, I think it was started out as what was intended to be a fully reusable um, to orbit rocket. Um, so they did basically the same sort of thing, um, up and over and back down. Um, I think it was McDonnell, no, it was either, I think McDonnell Douglas or Raytheon who built that one. Um, Gonna bug me if I don't know that and look that up right now. Um,
Raytheon's about 10
Delta
minutes from
Clipper,
me.
really
Yeah,
cool.
we've got well, it used to be Boeing. I think it's Spirit now. Because they got bought out. Cessna, Raytheon, Learjet, all that's in Wichita.
Wow,
Mm.
that's interesting. I didn't know there was such a collection of aerospace out there in
Yeah,
Kansas.
air capital of the world where they never launch anything.
No, but they fly it out to where it all gets launched, right?
Oh, there's constant airplanes and stuff. We have a military base too.
Oh,
So,
awesome. And those are not quiet airplanes.
no,
Yeah. The military does not prioritize
Silence.
silence, quietness. Yeah, what surrounding neighbors, quality of life.
yeah.
Nah, they want them up
Now,
and fast and back
what was
down.
the one was crazy was when the three Blackhawks flew over my house really low.
Oh man.
Did the house
Yeah,
shake?
yeah, it was rattling. It was really weird because it was like woo, 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 woo. I was like, what
Interesting.
the hell is that? And went outside and three Blackhawks flew over. I've seen the stealth, the B-1Bs, all of them.
Mhm.
It's constant around here.
Cool. Super cool. Yeah, Delta Clipper, I looked that up. Um, it was the McDonnell Douglas DC-X or DC-10, maybe. I don't know if they meant that for Roman numeral. But yeah, it was an uncrewed subscale prototype of a reusable single stage two orbit launch vehicle. So yeah, that was intended to be unlike the Falcon 9, which is partially reusable, right? They send stage one up, bring that back, and then stage two goes and but right. So um 20 years before the first Falcon 9 launch, McDonnell Douglas was on its way to a single stage um, to orbit and back down. Um, don't know how far they would have gotten if they had not been um, co-opted. I think it might be a good word. There was a point um, where the military took over the development of it, took it away from McDonnell Douglas, basically. And in the first test flight that the military did, they blew it up and destroyed it. So they just gave
On
Yeah.
up.
purpose?
No,
That's what I was gonna say.
no. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, Blue Origin's New Shepard, SpaceX's Falcon 9 reusable vehicles were inspired by the DCX. Elon Musk even noted his program was, quote, just continuing the great work of the DCX project. Yeah,
Mm.
and his company, his involvement with his company was basically just coming in and buying it and saying, this is me. I'm doing it. Yeah, there was a company already on its way. But what was it? The test. There's a thorough Wikipedia article about it. First flew for 59 seconds on 18 August 1993. Why is Wikipedia using the or European date format for an American accomplishment? Ugh, somebody should go and edit that. August 18, 1993. It was claimed that it was the first time a rocket had landed vertically on Earth. Two more flights on 11 September and 30 September. Oh, okay. When funding ran out as a side effect of the winding down of the SDIO program, uh, in addition, the program was considered far-fetched by detractors. Yeah, it probably wouldn't have. I mean, there's a reason that when Musk says his company is um, continuing their work, then we have to consider that when there's a reason that they're only doing a first stage launch and recovery, you know, that a fully recoverable single stage to orbit may have been far-fetched, like the detractors were saying. So, um, but DC. Um, NASA agreed to take on the program after the DCX flight in 1995. In contrast to the DCX demonstrator, NASA applied a series of major upgrades to test new technologies. In addition, oxygen tank was replaced with a tank from Russia. First test flight was made on 18 May 1996. Wikipedia. Um, and yeah, they blew it up. Well, all of their modifications and stuff, I think that just it was too much, too many changes, and the functional vehicle that McDonnell Douglas um, had built when the government took over, um, they did too much and reached too far. Oh wait, no, it's next flight. So it did. But yeah, the next flight on 31 July 96 proved to be its last. The launch and flight portion of the mission was flawless. However, after slowing to a perfect touchdown, only three of the four landing struts extended. The vehicle could not balance on three struts and it slowly fell sideways on the landing pad. Boom. When it struck the concrete pad, the liquid oxygen tank cracked open and leaked locks onto the pad. That contacted a small amount of glowing metal on the base heat shield and started a fire. And when you've got a whole thing of liquid oxygen right there, any spark will basically allow anything with any uh, potential as a fuel will just ignite. So yeah, this is not the article that I was reading at first, is it? Rocket Report. Sorry, guys. Um, so yeah, the Japanese rocket, 11 meters, 40 seconds, 16-meter horizontal translation. That's a big step. That was difficult to do back then. It's difficult to do now. Um, and yeah, that whole side tangent about the the DCX Delta Clipper. I'll just call it Delta Clipper. Back in 1990, I don't mean to minimize the accomplishment of the people working on this rocket right now. So just to clarify that. But um, step by step, JAXA has been developing the RVX rocket to demonstrate technologies needed for a reusable rocket launch. The conical fuselage stands about 7.3 meters tall and is somewhat similar in appearance to the DCX vehicle NASA. Hey, the DCX NASA developed in '90s, and SpaceX's Starhopper. The agency says it plans to analyze the data from the flight for the development of an experimental reusable rocket in a joint project called Callisto with French and German research institutions. Uh, Next up, a new suborbital test range down under, a company called Spinifex. Spinifex Space was established this week to provide end-to-end suborbital launch campaigns, private range access, and test and evaluation infrastructure from facilities in southern Queensland. Payload reports, oh, Queensland payload reports. Spinifex says its team spun out of Black Sky Industries, an Australian developer and supplier of solid rocket propellant and solid rocket motors. Helping others get to space, Spinifex does not build rockets. Instead, um, its products are the land and the licenses required for flight. Okay, so Australia's version of the FAA, they're going to work with that and basically be like uh, like NASA's um, Cape Canaveral, um, Kennedy Space Force base licensed for the private companies over here, Blue Origin, um, SpaceX. Yeah, there we go. They don't have their own facilities here, but NASA offers licensed facilities and built out facilities. They lease them to those companies. Anyway, the company will support static fire testing, hypersonic vehicles, kinetic effectors, energetics handling, and destructive testing. Cool. All the fun things. The closest domestic alternative is Woomera, um, the government-owned range where Australia tests its missiles. Ooh, okay. So the um, equivalent of the Nevada test range. Uh, Medium rockets. Now, China lands its orbital booster. China's sprawling state-owned rocket developer, maker of the company's Long March rocket family, announced it recovered a reusable orbital class booster for the first time last Friday in the South China Sea. Hey, they've been blowing up their attempts for a while now, so it's cool. Um, They had a really pretty video of their last attempt. They had a high quality drone and they were like flying it around. And when the rocket came down and landed, it blew up and they had a really nice view of their own rocket blowing up. Um, not the advertising campaign that they had hoped for, I think. uh, about 10 minutes later, the Long March 10B booster descended from space and guided itself into a four-legged frame affixed to an offshore vessel. Interesting. It's pretty different from what we do. Excuse me. Tension cables stretched over the ship in a grid pattern captured the rocket as it shut down its landing engines. Its landing engines, leaving the smoldering booster hanging in midair. Oh, cool. They're doing like a net thing. Wait. They
Sort of
guided it
sounds like.
into a four-legged frame affixed to. Okay. Oh, okay. So it's not landing on its own legs. It's landing on a frame that has a net, and they're kind of landing it in a net or like a hammock or something with four legs, I guess. Boop, 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 and just that's interesting. I wonder if they have footage of it. This is not the time to go looking for that footage, though. Um, Joining Western rocket companies in the club, the rocket's upper stage continued into orbit and developed a payload known only as CX-26. Um, Deployed a payload only CX-26. I guess, yeah, the Chinese don't talk much about what they do. It may be like a military thing, secret spy thing up there. Chinese officials hailed the flight as a complete success. SpaceX and Blue Origin used propulsive landings to return their Falcon 9 and New Glenn boosters to offshore platforms or onshore landing pads. With Starship, SpaceX pioneered a new method of catching the rocket's reusable booster back at its launch pad using mechanical arms mounted on the launch tower. AST Space Mobile is seeking other launch vehicles. The direct-to-cell satellite company announced its intention to offer $1 billion in convertible notes on Wednesday after the U.S. stock market closed. What? Shortly after the announcement, the stock value dropped more than 10% as investors appeared concerned about dilution of their shares. What is interesting for our purposes is the reason the reason offered by AST Space Mobile for the transaction. The need to get more rockets to get its large Bluebird satellites into orbit. the company considering acquisitions. AST Space Mobile's intention to, quote, pursue an expanding universe of growth initiatives and secure additional access to orbit for its space-based cellular broadband network, including partnerships and/or acquisitions to further vertically integrate its business and mitigate risks associated with third-party launch providers. Yeah, they don't like that Blue Origin lost their rocket, the last one that they sent up, the insurance write-off, and then immediately afterwards watching Blue Origin blow up their rocket. um, I think they've launched with SpaceX a couple times though, so I'm not sure. Well, yeah, I guess that would be why they're looking for rocket companies of their own to buy. They don't want to rely on external companies. It makes sense. But I don't know. I don't think any other um, service provider that is not explicitly space, an aerospace company, looking to become an aerospace company for the purpose of providing their service. Um, you know, it, it's interesting. It'd be like um, if Sirius satellite radio looked to buy a rocket company to launch their satellite radio um, satellites. Uh, but they must want a lot of those satellites, which I guess if they're going directly to the cell phones, they would need a lot. But I don't know. It's a stretch goal. An H3 rocket launched June 11 on a test flight of a new variant of the vehicle. Oh, something. No, no, no. No, I'll just skip ahead. There's a lot of rocket news here. I've been talking for a long time. I'm tired of it, and I want to make Pookie read an article. Let's see. Ariane 6 is cleared to launch CubeSats. The European Space Agency awarded a contract to launch its solar storm monitoring CubeSat on Ariane 6 rocket. The European spaceflight reports. Scheduled to launch early 2027. Will be flown as a secondary passenger alongside the Plato telescope. Oh, cool. Um, which will be tasked with finding Earth-like exoplanets. Um, okay, and two heavy rockets, just skipping ahead. Starship test flight was scrubbed at ignition. The next test flight of SpaceX's Starship spacecraft and Super Heavy booster was set to launch as soon as Thursday. However, a handful of the rocket's 33 Raptor engines failed to light as the vehicle's ignition. I wonder how many. They just say a handful. I want specifics. Ah, da, da, da. Seeking validation for this flight, technicians have installed 20 Starlink V3 satellites into the ship's deployer. Is this the first time they've deployed Starlink satellites from the Starship, or have they? I don't know. The A system of pulleys and cables designed to eject a stack of satellites one at a time through an opening on the side of the spacecraft. Ooh, has it got a little dedicated Starlink deployment door on this Starship? I haven't heard about that before. The satellites will not be part of SpaceX's operational network, but engineers will attempt to briefly establish laser communication links between the Starlink V3s and other spacecraft flying in low Earth orbit. Hmm. If successful, these links will validate Starlink V3's interop interop I don't know why my mouth is having gonna have trouble with this. Interoperability with SpaceX's previous generation of Starlink satellites. How many launches to build a data center mega constellation? I mean, I guess better to have data centers up there than in our neighborhoods, right? If they can cool them up there and not use Earth's water, um, yeah.
Definitely
Ars
seems better.
Technica. Yeah, yeah. Ars Technica looks into technical challenges of building orbital data centers. 1 million. What it might take to build SpaceX's 1 million satellite mega constellation. This is this is I don't know. More and more and more things up in orbit is not necessarily a good thing, as much as it would be good to not have them in our neighborhoods. Putting them all in between us and the stars will be um, impeding the uh, the viability of space-based astronomy. There's going to be a point very, very soon where uh, any sort of actual serious astronomical research will have to be done with orbital satellites. There's going to be no choice unless something is done, something changes with these satellites, some means of, I don't know how they could make those satellites invisible to like ground telescopes. If that's, I mean, I don't see how that would be possible. So if that is impossible, if nobody finds some solution that I just cannot imagine, then the problem would have to fall to researchers and engineers on the ground-based telescope um, end of the problem. And what are they going to do? How, I don't know. There would have to be something with the software probably in order to edit out, find and edit out the effects of um, those objects just right in the middle, right through. Because they got to, in order to resolve a lot of these deep space objects, they aim the telescope at what looks like just a completely blank patch of sky and open up the the camera sensor and just let it stare and collect light for hours. So if one little satellite flips through that and happens to pass at any point during that, multi-hour long open exposure, then the entire the entire thing is just useless. So 1 million of those, and that's not Starlink. That's a different proposed mega constellation. They're they're how big is Starlink gonna get? Um, and then on top of that, another 1 million satellites, and that's all just from SpaceX, and that's not even the only mega constellation that's getting built out there. They've got Blue Origin building their Starlink knockoff, and uh, I don't know. As cool as rockets are and all of the technology, Astronomy was one of my big, like, special interests when I was a child that aimed me at engineering as my professional um, and academic field. So I'm torn between engineering and the technical accomplishments versus the academic uh, knowledge and like just destruction of potential for future research and accomplishment. If only space-based telescopes are going to be useful, then that massively restricts the possibilities, you know? You're not going to have citizen astronomers making discoveries anymore like they have been in the recent, I mean, it's there've been like just normal average people completely not attached to any sort of research institution that have discovered, the comet Hale-Bopp, I think, was first spotted by a dude just in his backyard. Um, New asteroids have been found that way. Um, if you're gonna completely remove the potential for that, then and serious astronomical research is going to become solely the domain of those who have the ability to get time on those massively expensive systems. So that's, yeah, I don't know. How many launches? Okay, this is going to be, I'll wrap up the SpaceX and then there's another paragraph, but they're saying it would be in order to get that million satellite mega constellation, they're saying optimistic scenario would require 17,500 Starship launches to deploy 1 million satellites. The most pessimistic scenario would require 77,000 launches over a period of 5 years, by the way, for the pessimistic video. For the pessimistic scenario, that would be 42 Starship launches a day.
Mm.
As for
And
total costs, including launches, satellites, and ground systems, under the most optimistic scenario, 1.45 trillion, pessimistically, 9.8 trillion. Uh, okay.
I don't see that happening.
Do we really need that many data centers that badly? Or could that, I mean, this is getting to a point where I'm starting to go over and Kevin had said about the Artemis that was couldn't that really be better spent somewhere else? Well, if you're spending it on launching data centers into orbit to provide AI data center processing ability, yeah, I would agree. Those that many launches, that just for that use, that 9.8 trillion could definitely do much, much more than just building AI capabilities. You know, the moon launch, that's different, but this, yeah. Oh, okay.
at the end of rocket news.
One more bit. NASA is moving to Falcon Heavy, the Sun Radio Interferometer space experiment will launch on Falcon Heavy from the Kennedy Space Center, part of the announcement, NASA did not give a date for the heliophysics mission. Such a cool word. It was planned to be on ULA's Vulcan. Uh, Interesting switch. Uh, yeah, six new sensors on the launch for the solar studies. Cool, cool stuff. Um, yeah, next three launches are coming Starbase Texas on July 16, which that one they missed. July 18, yeah, the India, and then July 20, hey, hey, Vandenberg. There's going to be a Falcon 9 Starlink launch over in your neck of the woods on July 20.
Check
They
it
give the
out.
date or the time in UTC. I don't know how that compares to PST, but
Uh,
it's 2 p.m. UTC. So whatever that is, whatever that means to you, you have to figure that out.
I think it's the same time zone my daughter lives in. Uh,
Okay, so it'd be
I'll check
easy.
it out.
Should be easy.
Yeah.
Gosh, now it's gonna bug me. I'm gonna have to do it for you now, UTC.
I mean,
Right
I was
after
just
I
gonna
said
look it
it's
up.
gonna be your problem.
Mm-mm. Uh, chin hurts, and I did not
Converts
have a
to
seizure.
6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time,
Yeah.
7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time.
Okay. Might not be able to do that one.
7 a.m.'s a little. That's gonna
Yeah.
push. Although I do tend to be kind of waking up on my own around that time, simply because that's morning medication time.
My morning med is at 10 a.m. So it's coming up.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, if I had my morning medication at 10 a.m., then my nighttime medication would make me like have me staying up till like um midnight, past midnight, which isn't that, it doesn't sound that late to most people, but in this house with my parents, they're retirees and they don't they like having the cats fed around the same schedule time that they had fed the cats before I, you know, became cat guru. So that means, like early morning and kind of evening. So if I waited until midnight to feed the cats for dinner time, that would that would be difficult for them to accept. So,
You probably have
yeah,
some cranky cats for a while too.
yeah, yeah. And cranky cats are a big problem if you want to sleep. They will, yeah. If I tried to
Because
change that, if I tried to shift my medication time to 10 a.m. midnight, like, uh, oh my gosh, they would be so pissed. They all come and let me know when it's dinner time. Think a lot of the times when you guys see Kitty or Mike up on the desk here and their head kind of over here in the corner, most of that time it's them coming to tell me, "Hey, it's dinner time. What are you doing over here? Get off the get off the computer and come over to the kitchen. You gotta." Yeah. And you don't see it because it's off camera, but the side of my chair over here, Mike will come up and walk up and just go, and then look up at me with his one eye, just stare. And then,
Hmm.
yeah, and he's declawed, so it's not patching and ripping on anything. So it's just like rubbing it. It's effective at getting my attention too. I can't just completely miss him when he's doing that. So,
If you
but
do,
yeah.
he'll find a way for you to not miss it.
He will, yeah, he will, then he'll come up and come stare at me here. I don't know if you have noticed um Mike ever. He kind of, as a black cat, tends to blend in with the corner area here, but yeah, I'll have to point him out if he comes up. Kitty and Poofy are pretty easy to see, I think. The color, they stand out in the darkness. But Mike is a shadow cat. He hides very easily in this room because it's basically just black light and like lava lamps most of the time. Um, so yeah, I'll be laying on a hoodie that I have over, just set out on the bed after I took it off, and um, I'll be sitting here talking to you guys and completely unaware. And then all of a sudden, just out from that black hoodie, a cat emerges that I had no idea was there. Um, Shadow cat, ninja cat.
Oh,
But he is a sweetheart, so he does not use his stealth powers for evil. He does pick
how
on
can you
Kitty
be
though.
so
Actually,
sure?
I got to take that back. He is kind of mean to Kitty. So yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway.
Sorry, Kitty. Sorry to hear that. Uh,
Have I been talking for almost an hour straight now?
uh,
It
something like that.
looks
I'll
like
say
it.
52 minutes because it's
52.
9:52. But
Did we
yeah,
start right at, wow.
we
We were
didn't
a
start
little
right at
after.
9.
Well,
Yeah,
huh,
2 minutes at the most.
huh.
Uh, but yeah,
I
yeah.
had no idea. I'm sorry. I should have sped up or at least checked the length of that article. I didn't know it was going to be that. But yeah, that's the rocket news for this week. It's been
Um,
it's been a while since I've given a rocket news rundown, so um, had to catch up a little bit. But yes, so
keep
um,
one ready next time. Uh, it's med time also. So
oh, but on a slightly related topic, the Perseid meteor shower begins today. So yeah, or today was yesterday. This today was yesterday. So last night, today. It peaks over a few days. So yeah. Da-da-da.
Where all
Annual,
is it visible?
um, to the east in the morning, I think. Here. Officially begins July 17, but it's active from July 17th through August 24th. Perseid's renowned for producing bright, fast-moving meteors and spectacular fireballs as Earth passes through debris left by Comet 109P slash Swift Tuttle. So the meteors will be visible on the
in the
night
nighttime
of
over here.
August 12th to 13th is when it reaches its peak, under what astronomers say could be near perfect viewing conditions. So created by tiny fragments left behind by Comet 109p, uh, with the new moon occurring during the 2026 peak. Oh, wow, that's great. That's awesome. So astronomers expect one of the best Perseid meteor displays, up to 100 meteors per hour under dark skies. Um, just hours after a total solar eclipse from Greenland, Iceland, and Spain, too, while a partial eclipse will be visible across Western Europe and much of North America, including parts of US and Canada. That's nuts. So, a new moon, a total solar eclipse, partial lunar eclipse, and the best Perseid meteor shower in, oh, I thought it said 100 years. No, it's 100 meters per second. Yeah, in years. Okay, that's pretty cool. So, if you want to see it, they've got these links for maps, dark sky maps in the US, dark sky preserve in Canada, starlight destination, global starlight, dark sky discovery in the UK. So, yeah, there's a few different uh, websites to check out if you want to see where to go for a good dark sky. I would imagine that if you live in a dark sky area, you probably already know.
Um,
Anywhere out in the
time to
boonies,
time.
pretty much. The further you are away from a big city, the better the viewing. But
Um,
yeah, they're fun. I I remember getting up to watch the meteor shower when I was like 12 or 13, and that was a big deal to wake up as an adolescent and voluntarily wake up and get out of bed at like 4 or 5 in the morning to go and lay outside. I was not a
vacation.
morning person. Have never been a morning person. So, um, but it was cool. You just sit and lay there and look towards the east before sunrise. Because
Um,
that's the direction that the Earth is rotating, and that's the direction that the Earth is moving in its pathway around the sun. So if you're coming through the orbital path of the meteor or of the comet, then the Earth rotating this way and moving this way, you will be looking right at the meteor path right before sunrise. Um, so,
it's, uh, I'll check on that. Uh, Speed it up a notch. Talk about the male genitalia.
about the
Um,
what?
the male genitalia. Did I
Oh,
say that right?
spicy. Yes,
Yeah, speed it up a little bit. Um,
we seem to talk
yeah.
about dicks a lot.
Well, we have them. I'm just kidding.
Not all of us.
I was gonna say I
Oh,
don't.
I'm not gonna say forgot about you, but I was talking to Mark. But yeah, uh, it seems to pop up a lot in the sites that I go look at, and they hear us talking about it a lot. So they're probably like, "Hey, let me throw this one out there." It's in the
Hey, they
algorithm.
like this. They want it.
Yeah, they want the good stuff. Anyhow, so it says single dad, 26 years old, has 4 inches of his penis amputated due to cancer. Oh, I didn't see the due to cancer. Oh, after cancer ate away a big crater. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. It's a hard topic to address. Penile cancer survivor is raising awareness to a rare disease that ate away at parts of his penis several years ago when he was just 26. Oh, that would suck. Stephen Hamill sat down with the host of ITV's This Morning, along with the urologist at England's Clatterbridge uh, bedtime alarm. Um, Along with the urologist at England's Clatterbridge Hospital, Dr. Ari Parnham, to talk about the near death experience that resulted from an initial misdiagnosis. In 2019, Hamill woke up one morning to find that his penis was severely swollen. He decided to ignore it and hope it goes away itself. It's the manly thing to do.
What I
Something
was
he
gonna say.
thought something he thought at the time, end quote, every guy would probably do. That plan backfired when later he was downstairs preparing a cup of tea and suddenly felt something wet. I looked down and it was just blood everywhere, like up the cupboards, on my feet, all over the floor, he described. Finally took Finally, he took his body's not so subtle hint to see a doctor who brushed off the possibility of penile cancer because of his age. Hamill said he was told, "It can't be penile cancer. You're only 26. It only affects men over 50." He walked out in celebration mode, uh, thinking he was cancer free and only suffering from a really bad case of balanitis, a bacterial infection on the head of the penis, also known as the glands. That would be cleared up by a topical steroid that the doctors instructed him to apply for a few weeks, but the party was cut short. The cream, he said, did not make a difference. And while the bleeding hadn't come back, he started experiencing excruciating pain in his genitals. The only way I can describe this is if I had a needle and was just poking at the head consistently every second, like there was no respite, he told the host. The only time I got to sleep was when my body just crashed 2 days later, or I'd have a 5 hour bath because the warmth soothed it. The pain just was horrific, Hamill said. Uh, when the bleeding started again, he knew he was due for another visit to the hospital. Uh, it was about a month after the balanitis diagnosis and a day before his sister's wedding when Hamill passed out in his brother's car and woke up blood everywhere, all over the car seat and his pants. He needed urgent medical care. He refused to miss his sister's big day. End quote. I was just like, you know what? I'm going I'm gonna wear one of them adult incontinence pads, put it under my suit, just deal with it. Well, just deal with it with self medication. He relied on alcohol to get him through the evening. End quote. Me and my cocktail, Pink Gin, had a really good relationship that day, he recalls. Mm. Once he returned to the hospital, Hamill's urologist immediately referred him to a cancer specialist who determined Hamill needed to be circumcised. But as it turns out, he would need much more than a trim. Parts of Hamill's penis had been eaten away by the aggressive cancer to the point that, as he very calmly described it, to look like a banana that had been bitten from underneath. Uh, it's like a big crater in it, he said. The cancer was just eaten away, and that's what the blood was. Because because of the extent of the damage, the circumcision didn't cut it, and he woke up from the procedure. Wow. Hamill was informed that he was going to need another much invasive surgery in which they removed about 4 inches from the head. Um, 4 inches from the head, just the head. Um, yeah. Anyhow, or as the show's host Ben Shepherd so delicately put it, they cut the end off. Hamill recalled the trepidation in the doctors' voices as they prepared for the surgery. He could tell that, end quote, even the surgeons themselves thought this guy's this guy probably won't make it. His urologist told him straight up, "This is bad. I'm going to try and save as much as I can because of your age. Go home, enjoy yourself for 2 days because your life's going to change dramatically." But if anything, Hamill said, in the years since his recovery, his life has actually gotten a lot better. I see the life in a different way now, he said. Today, the single dad works to raise awareness for penile cancer, which is which is rare globally. In the US, the American Cancer Society estimates there are slightly over 2,000 cases diagnosed a year. The disease is curable in some cases, such as Hamill's, and like all cancers, is most easily treated when detected early. While there's no clear cause of the penile cancer, the Moffitt Cancer Center says some experts think tumors can form while the bodily fluid became trapped with the foreskin, which helps to explain why uncircumcised men are thought to have higher risk. Circumcision is a custom treatment in early stages, as is cryosurgery to isolate and destroy cancerous cells. More advanced cases, including Hamill's, could result in removal of the lymph nodes or penectomy, plus radiation or chemotherapy. On the show, Parnham said most men experience penile cancer on the head of the penis or the foreskin, though it might be, in quote, hidden under the foreskin. Signs of the disease include red patches on the skin, masses of growth, and changes in color or bleeding. Some people developed an infection on the top of the cancer, he added, which might result in some discharge that's noticeable in their underwear. Left untreated, it will often spread to the lymph nodes and the groins. Any changes on the penis should be checked, he said. If they are not going away after 2 weeks, some treatment, it might be time to talk about cancer. For his part, Hamill seems to have adjusted to his life just fine through dating. Though dating has its ups and downs, he ultimately feels what he lost in inches, he gained in perspective. I'm learning my body again and learning how to communicate, he said, but it's made relationships a lot more intimate and a lot more connected, which I probably say makes me a better person. The advocate chose not to get reconstructive surgery because his doctor said there was no guarantee that he would regain sensation and it might cause him to lose even more sensitivity. But at this point, size doesn't concern him. And although some online bullies have taken to calling him stumpy, he's still left with, in quote, more than enough to work with. I'm a strong believer of you can move forward if you can't move forward if you keep looking back, he said. I've had my child life, just great, just aesthetically a bit strange. That is all. And that sucks. Um,
especially that
mm,
young.
yeah. Yeesh. He didn't say anything. Did he say he had kids? I don't remember that, but
Well, he's
I
still
don't think
dating,
so.
it said. So, it sounds like he
26.
hasn't hasn't settled down. So, yeah, that's uh,
yeah,
How would you guys have felt if something happened and they needed to cut off 4 inches of your dick when you were 26 years old?
if it's me or him, then take him, not me.
is
That's what
that
you got to do
4 inches
from the head. It said,
grown or because
if I
that's
read it correctly,
yeah,
4 inches from the head. I mean, that I
right.
remember reading. Uh,
But I don't know. Are you a
mm,
grower or a shower? Because if it's 4 inches off a grower and then you've got two different numbers that you need to consider with this amputation. So
Um, I don't know what grower means. What do you mean by grower?
when aroused,
Oh,
does
okay.
the size increase
Mm,
in length, right?
okay.
Or
Yeah.
does the full length is the full length on display when unaroused, right?
um,
Will it just go
okay.
up or did it go up in there?
Thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Uh,
Anytime,
yeah.
man. Um,
Uh, we'll try not to have that conversation again. But
you asked for it.
I did. I'll try not to ask. I'll say that. Try not to ask again. Uh, but the things that caught my attention were Stumpy and taking 4 inches from the head just won't leave my mind.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, and that well, 4
At
inches.
least he's at least he said he's still got enough to work with.
Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say, if you're happy, I'm happy. Uh, you got enough, man. Good
Well,
luck.
and
You won't gain sensation back, it said, I believe.
the right partner wouldn't
Won't care.
wouldn't be important. It wouldn't be a deal breaker, right?
All right. You never know.
If it's a big deal, like then you sex isn't everything in a relationship. And if that's a deal breaker, then it's not the right person.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. 26 years old is what stuck to me too. That sucks, man. You lose it a
That's
lot
yeah.
early. Um, there's a short snippet here. Did you know you can give birth to your sibling children? I did not know that was possible. Um,
What?
What?
yeah, it says a woman took a DNA test while searching for a kidney donor, and the results said two of her own sons were not hers biologically. What looked impossible led doctors to a rare condition called chimerism, where one
Oh,
person can carry two different
chimerism?
sets of DNA in the same body. The video revealed how an unborn twin, pregnancy, or hidden genetic mix can completely change what we think family biology means. It also shows why more people may have a in quote secret twin than they realize. A fascinating and mind bending look at the strange side of genetics. Um, it wasn't a long article about it, but yeah, there's a video about it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wait, so was that the end?
yeah, it wasn't that long. The video was probably what
Oh,
has the rest of it. I
okay.
didn't click on the
Yeah.
video.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, we were discussing that before the article or before starting, and it was kind of an awkward conversation to have. Um, for that reason. What they said, two sets of DNA in one individual. So to be able um, to contribute, if she, as the mother, was able, has two sets of DNA in her own body because of this condition, right? That means basically her cells could be biologically male and female with the, encoded by the DNA. Because this chimerism, I don't know, did they explain it well enough to that you get it kind of, or because it seems like they sort of glossed over. Um,
I think you were could explain better because they didn't
okay,
explain
yeah.
much
So
of what it is.
um,
A little bit.
basically, yeah. Um, Chimerism is a phenomenon where um, one biological organism um, is composed of cells that are encoded with two different sets of DNA from their same species. So basically, it's like they are their own twin in their own body, right? Sort of, or
Mhm.
like a pair of
You are two people.
fraternal twins that kind of had been joined at the early stage of development, um, and then merged instead of having like conjoined twins. That phenomenon. Um, so in some cases, that can go so far as the one twin entirely absorbs the other twin, but not in a way that, the other twin dies. Basically, the other twin's DNA, when the cells start splitting, the other twin's DNA um, starts to divide into cells that work with their other. So there's a dominant twin and, you know, their other twin whose DNA is also in them. And that's kind of, I am not a doctor, so that's not a technical um, explanation. I would probably get a major talking to by a biologist if they were here. But that's kind of a 20,000 foot overview of sort of the idea of what's happening here when they say there's two distinct sets of DNA in one individual. So it's like a a person who is um, a pair, one of a pair of fraternal twins who is also their fraternal twin at the same time. So when these when these cells and um, their own twins cells in their body are uh, contributing to the DNA in their reproductive system, right? Then you could have a scenario where um, the uh, what would it be? I guess it would be the ovum is produced with a set of DNA that is not the mother's own DNA, like the mother's DNA in the ovum would be contributing a set of DNA that has a Y chromosome in it, even though it's an ovum. And I mean, this might not actually be what happened, but this is just a way that I can. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Would that be? Yeah.
Um,
But in that case, then you would have the father contributing a set of DNA, and the father could contribute an X chromosome, and the mother's DNA is providing the Y chromosome, and you could get a male coming out of there, um, even if it's not from the father's Y chromosome, right? But
so basically, he's not having children with the father. He's like, I have children with your sibling.
right, so
Uh,
it would be genetically looking like a case of incest, essentially, from a DNA
yeah,
perspective. right? It would look like
It sounds like.
a person contributing, or a person whose DNA was produced by a pair of siblings. But it's
Yeah.
from this phenomenon, the chimerism. So, um, types of chimerism. Okay, this is, I should have maybe looked at this, but tetragametic chimerism occurs during early development when two separate fertilized eggs fuse into a single embryo, and the resulting person carries two distinct genetic profiles. And then microchimerism, much more common form, where a tiny fraction of cells, less than 1%, from one individual takes up residence in another, frequently happens during pregnancy, where cells are exchanged between the fetus and the mother. So that does not sound like what's happening here. But then, okay, and then artificial chimerism is seen in patients who have received bone marrow or organ transplants. So there's, you know, somebody else's liver in your body. Technically, you've got two sets of DNA running, or I mean, well, the bone marrow transplant would be kind of, yeah, then your blood would be made
So,
by bone marrow with somebody else's entirely different, not even your siblings, right? Entirely unrelated person's DNA flowing in your blood.
uh,
Whoa, interesting. It's interesting.
while talking about this, just looking a little bit around the internet, found another article like unrelated, but it says a baby born pregnant with her own sibling and needed an emergency C-section to remove it.
Wait, a
Hmm.
baby is born pregnant?
I'll read the article. You never know until I read it. It says a baby girl named Itzmara was born through a cesarean delivery, and 24 hours later, doctors performed a C-section on her too because she had absorbed her twin in the womb. Mamas Latinas reported in March. When the mother, Monica Vega of Barranquilla, Colombia, had an ultrasound at 7 months pregnant, doctors discovered she had two umbilical cords inside of her. One connected baby Itzmara to Vega, but the other connected Itzmara to a mass that was her paracystic twin. When the doctors noticed this, they diagnosed Itzmara with fetus in fetu, a rare condition where a malformed fetus is found in the body of its twin. The doctors say they needed to deliver Itzmara right away through a C-section so they could operate on the baby. They were worried that if they didn't remove this parasitic twin inside of Itzmara, the mass could grow and injure the baby's organs. Wow. So after delivering Itzmara via C-section, the doctors performed a C-section on her too to remove the mass, which had no heart or brain. Itzmara was in good health following the surgery. Mama's Latina reported. The baby's condition is extremely rare, according to National Institute of Health. Fetus in fetu is a very rare, with only one case occurring in about every 500,000 births. Additionally, authors of Fetus in Fetu case study published in August said only 200 previous cases of FIF had been documented in medical journals. FIF related tumors are usually benign, but sometimes can cause health problems, which Itzmara's doctors were concerned about happening. Not all fetus in fetu cases are treated right after birth. In some cases, FIF related health problems take 2 years to develop. In the August case study published by BMJ Case Reports, a 17-year-old teen in India showed up at the hospital complaining about abdominal pain and a growing lump in that same area. And she said had started developing 5 years earlier. When the doctors examined her, they found she had absorbed her parasitic twin in the womb and was having stomach pains because of it. Doctors opened the teen's stomach through surgery and found that the tumor ran from her liver to her pelvic bone. They said it didn't create any complications with the organs in her body, but besides a cyst, which they removed. In another case, a 27-year-old man recalled having a malformed mass since childhood, but he said it didn't cause him any pain until he was 26 years old. Doctors were unaware why this is happening. Mm.
Heard of the parasitic twin thing before, and they'll go in and take them out, and they'll like find teeth and hair and stuff inside the tumors.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's only look up pictures if you've got a strong stomach.
Yeah.
I I do. Um, yeah, it's very unfortunate. Um, yeah. Then I had something on Jill Biden. Uh, yeah, she said she's being treated unfair. Um, she didn't exactly say that. She said Joe Biden accuses the press of double standard in coverage of husband and Trump. This was an article that came out 8 hours ago. Former First Lady Jill Biden accused the media of applying a, in quote, double standard in its coverage of her husband, former President Joe Biden, when compared to President Trump. While promoting her memoir last month, the former First Lady was asked during a Q&A session about media coverage during her husband's presidency. She said the former president would have been, uh, is it excoriated? Uh, yeah. The future president would have been excoriated had he been responsible for much of what is happening under the current administration. You know, if Joe would have done any one of those things that you're occurring now, oh, that are occurring in it, occurring now. I'm sorry for the tongue tie. I mean, he would have been exonerated, she said, which she told the View. Co-host Whoopi Goldberg and moderated the discussion. But you know, it's like there's a double standard, and that I don't think it is fair the way it is, Biden added. The former First Lady also suggested Biden administration could have done more to build stronger relations with reporters at the time, saying she regretted not engaging with the press as much as she could have. End quote. Maybe we could have done more to reach out to the press to be more open so they understand us as real people and not these sort of figureheads, Biden said. This is one thing I do regret, that maybe we could have formed closer relationships. While the
Yeah, her
interview
books would have
occurred,
sold better.
mm, didn't know she
She
had a book.
regrets not getting more publicity for her memoirs before her husband was voted out of office. Well, he wasn't voted out, but before he
It was
left
his
office.
time. Uh, while the interview occurred at the 92 New York event on June 2nd to promote her book, in quote, View from the East Wing, video to exchange, video of the exchange has drawn renewed attention online. An uncomfortable moment occurred at the event when the former president crashed the ending of his wife's book debuted to promote his own upcoming book, as shown in a video posted on social media. Joe Biden got up from his seat in the audience and wandered up to the edge of the stage unexpectedly, attempting to ask his wife a question without a microphone. He was then handed a microphone where he pointed to the crowd and said, in quote, my book, which comes out in September, read it. That's what it says, read it. The former first lady then jokingly said, in quote, "Do I have to remind him that this is my event?" Joe Biden's memoir, which
Probably.
was released in June, recounts her 4 years as first lady in the White House. It also reflects on closing chapter of her husband's presidency and the 2024 presidential election. That is all. Yeah. She didn't get to promote her book. That's what it sounds like. And then he stepped in and was like, "Well, I got a book coming out." That's messed up. Um,
Yeah, he's not fully there, I think.
mm,
Uh, which not, I don't know. My heart goes out to him. It's difficult dealing with aging um family like that. But um yeah, I don't think he's entirely um
it was kind of selfish. Uh, but
well, it wouldn't be selfish if he's not, if he's um I mean he's what, 80 something? If he's showing early indicators, I mean he's been showing early indicators of, onsetting dementia for a while now. If that's happening, he's not to blame for actions, but he's not fully there to, yeah, to understand where and what he's doing, what he's interrupting, and why it would be inappropriate. So I don't know. That's kind of, I don't, that's, I feel like that's the most generous way to interpret that. Otherwise, he's just self-centered and walking on stage and on his wife's book. Like, who cares? Mine will sell more if I can do this. I don't know.
yeah,
Or,
I think he's
just
getting old.
back off, give her the space, trust her to know that, oh, and he'll have a book too. I can mention that at the end of my interview as I'm walking off, right? Like a perfectly normal interview for most couples.
I
I don't
think
know.
all of the politicians are getting too damn old.
If he had to step down as the Democratic Party nominee for president due to, you know, these sort of concerns, then yeah, I don't know. I feel uncomfortable saying it, but I don't think it's unreasonable to believe it.
Um,
I mean, or at least to suspect it. And uh, I don't know. It's
I haven't seen one of those videos people talk about where he's falling asleep during the interviews. Never really went to go look it up.
it's
But yeah, if you're
not
falling asleep
difficult
like
to
that,
find. They're yeah, they're readily available. There's a lot of them. They're all over the place. It was, yeah. Um,
I like the readily available.
yeah, falling asleep or walking off, um, trailing off in the middle of a sentence.
Mm.
Um, m-
Have they
I
said
mean,
anything about dementia?
yeah, that was the whole big thing of the Republican campaign. If not saying it outright, then definitely have very heavily implying it. That's a big part of the reason that the Democrat campaign um, pressured to have him pull off the ticket, because they felt that those criticisms were strong enough that it might swing the vote against him. as you know,
Hmm. Um,
even knowing that um, that sort of switch, even knowing that doing that would still itself cause a major backlash. So, um, yeah,
um,
I don't know.
I'm gonna read something. I got something else here. It's about the female genitalia. Um,
Okay,
the first
yeah.
ever 3D map of the black box, end quote, black box of the female genitalia is created by scientists, end quote, is super important. They got to perfect that sex bot. Anyhow, it
It's a
says,
mystery, man.
X marks the spot. Scientists have finally drawn up the map. For nearly 3 decades, researchers have been had a detailed understanding of the nerve network that makes up the penis. But when it came to the organ responsible for the female pleasure, they were largely flying blind. Now, a groundbreaking study has finally charted out the elusive sensory pathways, a breakthrough, a breakthrough that experts say could have far reaching implications, including helping surgeons preserve sexual function in women undergoing pelvic operations. Considered one of the least studied organs in the human body, the clitoris has been long shrouded in cultural taboos, which has hindered research into the pleasure center of the female reproductive anatomy. Despite the references dating back to ancient times, it didn't appear in the standard anatomy textbooks until the 20th century, when it was finally included in what many consider the, in quote, leading doctor's Bible. In 1995. It was described as simply as, in quote, small version of the penis. But it turns out that the organ is far larger and more complex than the pea-sized snub at the bottom of a vulva, often associated with sexual arousal and orgasm. In the study of in the study, Dutch researchers use high energy X-ray imaging to create detailed 3D scans of the pelvic regions of two deceased women who donated their bodies to science. The scans revealed that many sensory nerve of the clitoris doesn't simply taper off as older anatomical models suggested, instead of splits into several branches, forming a tree-like network inside and around the pleasure organ. This is a very this is a very first ever 3D map of the nerves within the glands of the clitoris. Dr. Ju Young Lee, a study author of research associated with Amsterdam University Medical Center in the Netherlands, told the Guardian. Um, a comparable map of the male anatomy was created back in 1998. The findings could be especially significant for survivors of female genital mutilation, FGM, a practice that involves a partial or total removal of external female genitalia. The procedures, carried out mostly in young girls and teens, affect more than 230 million women around the globe.
It's interesting
Women
they
Health Organization.
fail to mention that female genital mutilation is a practice that arose out of Islamic societies
Oh yeah, we'll go there next time.
to ensure
Uh,
that their women would not enjoy sex. It
oh,
was
I'm sorry to hear that.
that's not for them. They're not meant to like it. They're just meant to take it.
Uh,
It's
interesting.
brutal what they do. It's brutal.
It is brutal. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, if you look up a map of incidence rate of female genital mutilation, it's
oh,
right like Somalia, I think, is the epicenter. Um, Almost every um,
I'll go to the rest of
foreign
this
war.
article.
undergoes it. Yeah.
The World Health Organization classifies FGM as a human rights violation. It can also lead to serious medical complications, including bleeding, infections, urinary problems, and complications during childbirth, not to mention reduced sexual pleasure. While reconstructive surgeries exist that aim to restore clitoral function after mutilation, nearly a quarter of women still report to decline in orgasmic experience after the procedure. Our studies provides the anatomical foundation necessary to investigate the physiological mechanism behind these sensory changes and potentially refine the surgical technique the authors wrote. Women are just realizing they lose part of their vaginas during perimenopause. The imaging could also help outcomes of other procedures, including genital cosmetic surgeries and operations to repair damage from childbirth. By better understanding the anatomy of the clitoris, for example, it could help doctors avoid damaged delicate nerve pathways that extend through the vulva. We have peripheral a peripheral nerve, treatments for everything else from the head to the toe, but the genital region is like a black box that's been unexplored, Dr. Blair Peters said, an associate professor of surgery in the Oregon Health and Science University School of Medicine, who wasn't involved in the study, told Life Science. This anatomic work is super important to better treat a lot of medical conditions that, for the most part, have been very limited. Uh, the development is the latest in a string of discoveries in the recent years involving the organ that belongs to nearly half of the world's population. Back in 2022, Peters and his colleagues at OHSU found that the clitoris contains more than 10,000 nerve fibers on average, about 25% more than previously estimated. Look ahead. The study authors say future research should focus on specific function of the complex nerve system they mapped for the first time, because both pelvic scans used in the study came from postmenopausal women. The researchers also want to conduct a similar imaging across other age groups, but it opens the door. But we need a larger studies to really understand the full picture. Alexandra Dubinskaya, a urine gynecologist at Cedars Sinai Urology, who did not participate in the study, told the Smithsonian Magazine, as a field as a field, bringing this kind of knowledge into everyday practice of education has real potential to change how we care for women. Oh man. Yeah. They built a map of it, they said. They know what it looks like. Um, they say, um,
It has deep roots.
that's what they say. Um, yeah, eventually they're gonna perfect that sex bot. Uh, anyhow, yeah, it says what caught me is it says women are losing part of their vaginas during menopause. Um, and then the map of it, the end quote black box, and then end quote super important. I was like, okay, we got to see what that goes into. So yeah, what were you saying about the FGM or something like that, Mark?
It's
It
horrible
is,
and cruel.
yeah, it's horrible, it's cruel, it's incidence rate. If you look at it, it's basically like a belt across sub-Saharan or across, no, is it? Yeah, yeah, kind of sub-Saharan Africa, right across Somalia, little bit across Saudi Arabia. Well, I don't know. Don't see any reports on numbers from Saudi Arabia, but it's a lot in Yemen and Qatar and everything, so probably in there too. Um, a little bit in Asia and then all the way down in Indonesia, Malaysia, it's pretty high again. So it corresponds very nicely with what we know now as the Islamic world. Um, it's yeah, it's brutal. Um,
Um,
they
can you check that
call it
article out, Mark?
female
Uh,
circumcision, though. They don't call it female genital mutilation. So, um, yeah,
Of course not.
there's
They don't want
there's
to
that.
admit what they're
But
doing.
well, it's religiously motivated and justified. It was um yeah, and then culturally accepted, um practiced. The only reason it would be frowned upon these days is because of Western sensibilities and norms. Seeing it as barbaric and, um, in order to come into the modern world, so to speak, participate in they gotta kind of modernize a little bit, um, condemn it, at least ostensibly condemn it, even if they continue practicing it without any change, really. Um, but I mean, it's not um, strictly Muslim. It does seem like there's um, has been found among Scopsi Christians in Europe. Spiritual, that's
uh,
Eastern Orthodoxy, best known for practicing the emasculation of men, the mastectomy, and female genital mutilation of women in accordance with their teachings against sexual lust. Okay, so they that's not really
You
Scopsi
would think
Christians.
that they
That's
would want an
pretty
enthusiastic partner.
there. Well,
I don't get it. To not have one, it might as well label a pillow. Yeah.
uh, screws.
Uh, I got an article that I sent you, Mark, because I found it on the internet about a week ago. Maybe not a week ago. Oh, yeah, it wasn't a week ago. It was yesterday. I look on the internet. I don't know when I find the articles. I just save them. And yeah, but Mark, you got to read this one. It's
Mm,
all you.
okay. Whoa, okay, here we go. Air passenger, quote, invokes Sharia law to avoid sitting next to a woman before slapping stewardess who confronted him on flight from Turkey. Wow, that is epic. That dude, that
I knew
dude
you'd love this
deserves
one.
like Sharia Muslim Award of the Year. Insistence on it. Well, I don't know. There's a lot of passenger on a Germany bound flight. Germany bound. Whoa. Invoked Sharia law to avoid sitting next to a woman before slapping an air stewardess who confronted him, according to police. The incident unfolded on a Turkish Airlines flight from Turkey to Dusseldorf, and police investigation is ongoing. German newspaper Bild reports. According to police, the suspect, a 29-year-old German national with Turkish background. Okay, so when they say a 29-year-old German national with a Turkish background, they mean a 29-year-old Turkish man who migrated to Germany and is living there. German national. So, yeah, Germany has been practicing the open borders policy since, no, 20 teens at least. Um, and yeah, the entire um, population demographics are shifting and changing in Germany, especially in the the downtown, like the urban city areas. So, and their immigration laws have in in line with that sort of policy have been extremely generous. So, for many years now, it has been extremely easy for um, people who have absolutely no connection to German culture, um, sensibilities, just, not German, right? Not culturally German, not trying to become, German, not integrating at all in the society, um, making it easy for them to become nationalized, get a German passport, and essentially, be called German. Um, Diluting the meaning of being German to, just a like nothing more than like a sticker you can put on your forehead. I'm German. There we go. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they mean when they say German national with a Turkish background, like how long he's been living in Germany. But yeah, with a Turkish background means he was born and raised in Turkey, culturally Turkish. Yeah, so invoking Sharia law like that is not anything to do with his German nationality there. So them putting that first is kind of weird. Um, a 29-year-old Turkish man who had migrated to Germany refused to sit next to a woman, citing Sharia law, the religious and moral code of Islam. When an aircraft employee tried to speak to the man, he then slapped the air stewardess in the face, it is claimed. Well, yeah, for a woman to attempt to say anything to, make a man do anything to try to have, or to even imagine that she could have any form of authority over anybody with male genitalia is unacceptable in Sharia law. So, yeah, of course he would slap the half human in the stewardess uniform. Why wouldn't he? When an aircraft employee tried to speak to the man, he then slapped the air stewardess. Oh, I already read that. German police were called to the aircraft after it landed at Dusseldorf Airport on June 1. Wait, this is a British newspaper. Why are they not using the European date format? Ugh.
I knew
Called
you
to
would
the
notice
aircraft
something like
after it
that.
landed at Dusseldorf Airport on 1 June. The incident is now being investigated by the city's federal police. The suspect has confessed to the crime, Bild reports. Okay, well, it would be hard for him not to, right? A whole big metal tube full of people all seeing it, watching it. It's yeah. There is no way he could say there are no witnesses. Um, Sharia law is the foundational system of religious and moral law in Islam, acting as a comprehensive guide for all aspects of a Muslim daily life. Didn't they already say that? Daily Mail has approached Turkish Airlines for comment. The incident is the latest in a series of recent onboard plane disturbances around the world. In May, a Delta plane was diverted when an unruly passenger caused a disturbance when he allegedly slapped a flight attendant over a dispute about drink service. Cody James Malik, 32, was arrested on 9th May after a flight from Fort Lauderdale to Los Angeles. Oh, he was American? Okay. On May 9th, after a flight from Fort Lauderdale to Los Angeles was diverted to Georgia due to a possible assault, according to a criminal complaint filed in federal court. Okay, so if he slapped the flight attendant about drink service, I don't think that's a possible assault. I think that is definitely assault, right?
I would
Um,
think so.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd say yeah too.
Meanwhile, a drunk passenger punched a police officer in the face in a brawl aboard a UK flight to Mallorca that was kicked off by a quote, lover's tiff. Okay. That would be, I don't know if that would be entertaining to watch or terrifying to watch. If you were one of the other passengers on the plane, right, watching a lover's tiff unfold, it can be kind of like, I don't know, strangely entertaining to watch sometimes,
I like to
watching,
just fall back
yeah,
and do
I
me.
ain't got no
Uh,
stake in this game. I'm just here,
right.
Give me
I don't
some
want to get stabbed because somebody's
stewardess. Can I
arguing with
get some
somebody
more
else.
peanuts to this is fun. Yeah. Um, I don't know. If I mean, it would definitely be shitty if they have to divert the flight, right? So I'd want that lover's tiff to happen towards the end of the flight. So that we're
Yeah,
gonna end up where I still wanted to go. Um, yeah, but it could be fun, I think. Depending on as long as it's not like really intense, you know.
I don't want to see nobody slap nobody.
Mm,
That I don't want to have to go through. Um, I don't mind arguing, you guys, but for a man to slap a woman in public,
mm, no,
uh, I mean, at all, not just in public. I mean,
that's
take that back.
stupid. But yeah, definitely. I mean, we're talking about watching on a flight, right? So in that context, given and yeah, in public, definitely not no bueno. But um, what about in this hypothetical lover's tiff? If she slapped him, would that be better? Could that be
uh,
if the argument
come
if
on.
she goes, oh, if she loses it? I don't know. I think that would be
What?
a little different. I don't mind getting as long as if it's like a big guy and he just like takes it and doesn't, you know, doesn't
Mm,
strike back. I could.
I
I'm
feel
just going to
like
go on the record and say violence is not good
I
from
Well,
will say
anyone.
that violence is not
obviously,
good
but if it's gonna happen, and I'm gonna be watching it for entertainment value,
if it's
that's
self-defense.
the way I would. Yeah, I guess
If you're
you're right. I
protecting
mean,
your face from getting slapped again,
now I
nothing wrong
now
with
I
that.
feel.
I wouldn't say just bash
Mm,
somebody, but take
yeah,
offense. I mean, defense
Andrea
or defend yourself.
goes in high roads,
Mm.
it's all, and now it just ruined the whole thing. It's not
and
fun
push some
anymore.
away.
I can't.
Push some
You
away.
guys go
I
right
have to
ahead.
agree. I have to agree. Violence is never. Yeah. Okay. Oh, so we
It
can't
doesn't matter
continue.
who it's coming from.
Right. So we can't
Right.
continue. Oh, you just shut it down. I gotta say, yeah, Andrea's right. She wins.
uh,
Oh,
this time, uh,
it's okay. It's
yeah,
probably
I
time
got.
to move on at this point, right?
Mm, I mean, we
I've got,
can.
I've got one.
Me
This
too.
one's actually right in my area. Um, yeah, Orlando to Tampa in 30 minutes. A new electric air taxi infrastructure unveiled at Kissimmee Gateway Airport. So, in the brief, they say officials say Central Florida is moving closer to launching an electric taxi air service or electric air taxi service, with Orlando to Tampa flights projected to take about 30 minutes. Kissimmee Gateway Airport unveiled a fast charging station and new air traffic management technology for electric aircraft. The leaders say the project could improve transportation while creating jobs and boosting the regional economy. Leaders always say that, don't they? Every project that leaders unveil will improve the situation and bring jobs and revenue, tax revenue, and simultaneous somehow lower your taxes all at the same time, right? But no,
Mm.
we'll see. Um, but yeah, local leaders and aviation experts gathered at Kissimmee Airport to showcase major progress towards bringing electric air taxis to our skies. What is a beta charge cube? Quote, they say. Well, we know local leaders and aviation experts are laying the physical groundwork to support the next generation of regional air travel. Rather than discussing the concept of advanced air mobility, crews have actively begun building out the physical infrastructure at the Kissimmee Gateway Airport. A newly installed Beta Charge Cube is officially leading the way. The technology allows crews to fast charge a brand new generation of electric aircraft currently undergoing real world trials. State leaders emphasize that early adoption of advanced air mobility is not just a win for consumers, but a massive catalyst for local economic development, jobs, and incoming businesses. Okay. Um, what they're saying, Kissimmee Director of Aviation, Sean Sean, shared the possible timeline expectations for future commuters. Quote, we will go from the Orlando area to Tampa within 30 minutes. They did two 80-mile circuits, came back, and we were able to charge that aircraft within 50 minutes. So we're testing. Okay. 50 minutes to charge, and they do two 80-mile circuits. How many taxis, air taxis, would they need to have continuously in order to meet the demand continuously and also recharging in 50 minutes? If the one way takes 30 minutes travel and 50 minutes to recharge, that math kind of sucks. I don't know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Matt Franklin with Signature Aviation explained one of the benefits of the newly installed Beta Charge Cube. What that allows us the ability to do is to fast charge a new upcoming generation of electric aircraft. That's kind of an awkwardly worded sentence. State Senator Kristen Arrington, a Democrat from Kissimmee, put the technological leap into historical perspective regarding local economic growth. Quote, throughout history, communities that invested in transportation became communities that attracted jobs, businesses, and opportunity, said Arrington. Railroads transformed cities, highways connected regions, and airports opened the world. Today, advanced air mobility represents another step in that revolution. Hmm. Okay. Yeah. So I think I asked this in the group chat before this live stream. Would you ride an air taxi like 30
I
minutes
was
instead of taking like a what hour and a half long Uber ride? Or
I was thinking about it because I was thinking maybe they might like do the beta testing in like a big city.
Mhm.
But then some of those big cities have a lot of big buildings and then airports. So
Yeah, well, I'm
depending on what
assuming
they're
well this
doing,
would be um I'm assuming they would be flying high enough to get over all the buildings and everything, low enough to be below all of the airliner traffic and everything. There's a big amount of
yeah.
space between those two. Um, so, um, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that the buildings would be my biggest hang up. I just don't know what these air taxis look like, what they are. Like
That's what I
The
electric,
was
what
wondering.
if
yeah, electric aircraft vehicles. If I don't know, I'm picturing like quadcopter things, and that,
the what if factor.
yeah,
I'm afraid of the what if. And if we're just zooming through the city and there's buildings and we happen to hit a bird or something random, now we're inside of office 12 on floor 3 or some shit like that. That's why I'm like the what if we're flying like a plane, like taxi like that, I might be more comfortable. But um
yeah, it looks like they're not like aircraft like that.
Where'd you find a picture?
I just did a Google search, electric air taxi, and right up top it came with this Orlando area, Central Florida developments actively pursuing. I mean, maybe it's just because this is, they saw my search and my reading the last one. Uh,
It
oh,
does look like a
yeah.
there was a demonstration in New York City too, JFK Airport. Um, yeah, Joby Aviation conducting flights in major hubs like JFK. They're pitching it. Piloted aircraft combines vertical ascent with fixed wing flying and will be used as a quote yellow cab in the sky. Piloted aircraft. That's interesting. So they need pilots for every one of them, and they need to be able to charge it up quickly enough to make it reasonable to use. And they'd need enough demand for that in order to make it like economically feasible, right? You need to be able
um
to pay the pilots and all of the charge everything, and it just, I don't know.
um they have them out here in California.
Mhm.
Um it says when I looked it up, it says, would you like to track current test flight sites in California? If you're interested in local or upcoming services, let me know. So I'm assuming they're having just like random testings I don't know where, and I don't need to click the link because it asked me for my location already, and I turned them down. But unfortunately, they still know where we're at, where I'm at least.
Well, they just see the location of the
Somewhere in
internet connection
California.
that you're searching from. They don't even
Mm,
need to figure out what you've been looking at up to this point, right? And just see where the
yeah.
Wi-Fi is coming from, where you're hooking up. So
Would you get inside one of these air taxis?
I don't know.
I'm
I'm gonna
inclined to
take a
say
hard
no.
pass.
Yeah,
Right.
I would initially be inclined to say no, but then I'm thinking about it, and I've said before, like it looks like it would be really cool, really fun to fly one of those like super light things, like a
Away from
glider with
stuff.
like the little lawnmower engine on the back, and just barely enough to scoot around. And if that looks fun, then
It
how
does look
different would
fun.
that be? I mean, I would want to be in control of that thing if I were to ride in it the first couple times, I guess. Maybe.
Um,
Well, I'd want to be
yeah, if I got to
piloting
ride
it,
in it,
not necessarily riding it.
yeah, I don't want to pilot, but if I got to just ride in it, it would have to be like we're leaving an airport. I don't want to go through the city for some reason, and I don't think that's gonna go 30,000 feet high like an airplane. There's just so many what ifs if that thing isn't high enough to avoid everything.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
my fear of the what if, I don't know if you've noticed, but yeah, Andrea, you gonna
Yes.
ride to Target? Will you be taking and what do they call these? Air taxis.
No.
And they're in bigger cities, like I was saying. Uh,
well,
yeah,
Wichita's got all of the aero stuff, right? All
We
kinds
yeah.
of
do have a
aerospace
lot.
companies.
Everything from the, flying lawnmowers with on a parachute to military
What?
and yeah. It's like it almost looks like a kind of like a go-kart with a big fan on the back of it and a parachute and they just go up and fly around.
Yeah, the super light. Haven't you have
Yeah.
that's what I was yeah, that's I would want to fly one of
Yeah.
those. But I mean,
They're
only in
extremely
remote
dangerous.
areas. Yeah, I mean, of
I would
course.
not.
But it looks like fun. But
Oh yeah,
there
they
are
look like fun, but no thank you. There's a guy that lives around here that's got one and I saw it a week ago.
Yeah,
oh,
flying vehicles.
I don't
I
know.
need to
I
be in a
still
plane.
there are
Good pilot.
enough regulations around them that there's only you got to be away from active airports, and you got to have,
Yeah, I was out in the country.
there's a certain ceiling that you have to stay below, and da 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 da. But um,
When you go above 10,000 feet, that's when air traffic control calls.
yeah, well, I think way lower than 10,000 feet, you'd
I'll just keep
probably,
my feet on the ground.
yeah. I mean, you got to consider 10,000 feet is 2 miles above ground. Um, I would not want to go that high in a flying lawnmower parachute thing. I
um,
want to stick closer, but I don't know. I still think it looks like fun. I wouldn't want to do it on a buzzy seizure day, that's for sure. I'd wait until sometime when I had a good night's sleep. But um, well, well,
so
if I ever have an opportunity, I'm guessing though, if electric air taxis become a thing, then personal vehicles might be a thing if they're getting
We're being
piloted.
flying
That's gonna be a
cars next.
problem.
Yeah. So
That's
those
gonna be a
things would
problem.
probably end up ch clogging up all of the airspace
Like the Jetsons.
that would make the end up making those super light things just not feasible.
Mm.
You'd probably end up getting all sorts of agencies and licensing requirements and stuff involved in that. And then you'd end up having the limits on epileptic people not being allowed, even in
The
completely remote safe areas where no one except the individual themselves is gonna get hurt. Why won't they let me
Maybe a
risk my
cow.
own life just for funsies if I want to? Hmm.
um what I was gonna say is I was watching a movie and they were flying drugs out of someplace. And he said, as long as you don't go above 10,000 feet, we don't have a problem with air traffic control. Uh, yeah. So I don't know if it was just the drug plane or whatever, but yeah. That's why I said 10,000 feet because that's what they said in the movie. You never know. I've never transferred drugs in a plane, so I wouldn't know how high not to go. That would be interesting and good to know, though. On another note,
Yeah,
uh,
there's no single universal elevation limit from the FDA or FAA, but they have several restrictions. So, like, they got speed limits. Aircraft below 10,000 feet are restricted to a maximum indicated airspeed of 250 knots. Uh, Sterile cockpit rule. Pilots are prohibited from engaging in non-essential conversations or distractions during all phases of flight below 10,000 feet, except during cruise. Okay, except during cruise. Like, yeah, I was gonna say the pilots got to sit in complete silence next to each other the entire flight. That would be boring hell.
hmm.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
especially for a long flight. I mean, I
um,
suppose they could discuss flight related topics, but
that's yeah. Over like a multi-hour flight, you'd probably run out of stuff to talk about at some point.
probably so.
Ideally, ideally the flight would be so boring that you run out of stuff to talk about, right? That's a good flight. When everything is so smooth that you don't need to say anything. Hmm.
Sounds like
Oh,
I got
the key to a nap.
yeah. For drone
right.
pilots operating under FAA Part 107 rules, the altitude limit is fundamentally different, restricted to a maximum of 400 feet above ground level unless flying within a 400-foot radius of a structure.
We're not
So,
going through the city. Nice. I don't think I do it still. Yeah. Give it
you
like
gotta
10
go up and
years.
over the buildings. You can't run through them. Or
I
wait,
think
The
no.
flight I always want,
Yeah.
the
this is
flight I
test
always wanted to
period.
take was there was a guy that had a biplane and he used to go out and do loops and stuff.
Oh, that sounds
I thought
fun.
that, yeah, that sounded fun to me.
Like the old barnstormer pilots and
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah, cool. That's
because I used to live right next to a small airport and that's where the plane was at. So he was out there flying all the time.
Mm,
is the plane
that
still in
sounds
flying
fun.
condition?
What?
Is the plane still in flying condition?
I don't know. This was 25 years ago.
Yeah, I wonder how many of those old school biplanes are still in working order.
I can't find
Kind of
my
start
comb.
running low on repair parts after a while. A lot of like classic cars, I know that they've been um, cannibalizing.
The
Uh,
salvage yards.
yeah, so and those are running dry on a lot of parts for some more obscure collectors cars. So um,
Yeah, a friend of mine's got a couple of them. I think they're either Model A or Model Ts.
mm,
I got an article when you guys are ready.
Go for it.
Um, and I should have waited because I'm not ready. For some reason, it's not me, it's the computer, I swear. Uh,
uh, got stuff open if you're not ready.
yeah, mine just frozen. Do what you
Okay,
gotta do.
cool. So here we go. On apnews.com, traditionalist Catholics face a difficult choice after Vatican cuts off breakaway group. So, for traditionalist Catholics who worship at churches affiliated with the Breakaway Society of St. Pius X, Sunday Mass now comes with an extraordinary question. Their priests and bishops have been excommunicated after the fringe movement on the Catholic right committed what the Vatican considers one of the faith's gravest crimes, rupturing church unity by consecrating bishops without the Pope's consent. The Vatican says Catholics should stop going to the breakaway group's worship services and activities, and that some sacraments administered by the society's priests are illicit and invalid. Yet inside the society's churches, normal life is largely carried on. Service in the old Latin Mass is still being celebrated. Baptisms performed, camps and pilgrimages are moving forward, and some faithful say they have no intention of leaving. The consecrations 2 weeks ago uh, posed a crisis for Pope Leo the 14th. Is that 14? Yeah, 14. Because of his emphasis on church unity. The American Pope has essentially reached out to the conservative and traditionalist wing of the church, which in which many were alienated during Pope Francis' pontificate. Anyway, now I don't want to subscribe. Fallout from the excommunication remains uncertain. Several bishops in the U.S. are echoing the Holy See's warning to the Society's faithful, to urging them to switch to churches aligned with Rome. Quote, to embrace the unity called for by Christ is to remain attached to the vine and to be in communion with Pope Leo XIV and the hierarchy of the Catholic Church. San Antonio Archbishop Gustavo Garcia Siller wrote to his archdiocese. His instruction echoes the Schism Declaration and excommunication decree issued July 2nd by the Vatican's Doctrine of Office against the Society of St. Pius X, also known as SSPX, which has about 750 priests. Will Catholics heed that call? It asks. Uh, it largely depends on where worshippers feel most connected, said R. Andrew Chestnut, the Catholic Studies Chair at Virginia Commonwealth University. I mean, obviously, it largely depends on where they feel most confident. And great input, R. Andrew Chestnut. Uh, Longtime SSPX adherents often regard such statements through the lens of a decades-long conflict with church authorities, he said, and are therefore less likely to be persuaded. The society was founded in opposition to the modernizing reforms of the Second Vatican Council, which it considers rife with heresies and errors. The 1960s council revolutionized the church's relations with Jews and other faiths, supported religious liberty for all, and allowed Mass to be celebrated in people's everyday languages rather than Latin. SSPX leaders see the society as a defiant guardian of church tradition, and they have defended its July 1st consecrations as necessary for saving souls. The society has also questioned the soundness of the Vatican's sanctions. Chestnut said the response from society leaders was, quote, remarkably consistent with past flare-ups with Rome. Priests have been reassuring the faithful that there is no change in their mission to preserve traditional liturgy or traditional Catholic liturgy. The society has appealed to the Vatican decree, and U.S. District spokesperson James Vogel said it's too early to judge its effect. For now, masses and other activities haven't stopped. Quote, I think a lot of people just continue to hold fast to what they've been doing, he said. That isn't surprising, said Mike Lewis, managing editor of Where Peter Is, a Catholic commentary website supporting Popes Francis and Leo. We're talking about communities that have essentially been separate for 30 to 40 years. People's families and societal lives are wrapped up in this movement, he said. Some traditionalist faithful choose to double down. Jim DePionte's ties to the Society of St. Pius X run deep. His parents helped bring the movement to North Carolina, and he belongs to St. Anthony of Padua, a society-affiliated church near Charlotte that bought land for a new campus the week after the excommunications. If anything, the excommunications make him want to do, quote, tradition even harder. St. Anthony's offers to me the traditional sacraments in the same faith that made every great saint throughout history, DePionte said. He feels it's his responsibility to preserve that faith for future generations. While he's not worried, he knows others are, especially newer participants, and he has been offering guidance to SSPX faithful in his orbit. He noticed a small drop in attendance at St. Anthony's, which draws a few hundred people to Sunday services, and he knows families who are rattled and some who don't plan to return. He attended the new bishop's consecrations in Switzerland and says he remains optimistic about the society's future. When the society consecrated those bishops, the Vatican considered it a schismatic act, a disruption to church unity that resulted in the excommunication of bishops and priests. The society's faithful were also warned that they too would face the church's harshest sanctions if they formally adhere to the group. Excommunication is a medicinal sanction or censure that can be lifted. Excommunicated people are not kicked out of the church, but are barred from certain activities. Bishops um, bishops are inviting the society's churchgoers to come home. In a letter to his diocese, he noted that excommunication doesn't apply to people who accept the Pope's authority and attended SSPX churches simply to worship. Okay. As long as you bend the knee, you're still in the fold. Even if you're, yeah. Still, going against the Pope is no small transgression. Staying loyal to the society, quote, would be to share in a separation from the successor of Peter, Cagano warned. Other SSPX faithful are facing a crisis of conscience. Ross McKnight is wrestling with what to do next. Drawn to the society during the COVID-19 pandemic, Pandemic panic. Ha. He and his family enjoy the supportive traditionalist community of a nearby SSPX church in Lacombe, Louisiana. He thinks a fair amount of people are like him, having a crisis of conscience. We don't want to abandon them in their dark hour, he said. At the same time, that's not our first duty. The first duty isn't to any particular person and or group of priests. So I think that's the source of the conflict. Garcia Siller, the Archbishop in Texas, has instructed Catholics not to attend the Society's local affiliate and said he would no longer allow SSPX priests to preside at weddings or to minister in the Archdiocese. But live streamed worship services show church life carries on at St. Joseph's, as it does at other society churches. During Mass on the first Sunday after the excommunications, the Reverend Stephen Zigrang ticked through more mundane announcements, building maintenance, a special collection, a baptism, before reassuring the congregation that there was no need to change course. The problem is, of course, family and friends, said Zigrang, who declined the Associated Press's request for an interview. Quote, they'll look at us as crooked, but just smile, right? Say, we like the old Mass, you ought to come and try it. Seems like a weird way to end, but there we go. This is an interesting situation. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm not Catholic, but I think that's, yeah, that's interesting. What do you have any opinion? Are you guys, um, whoa, bump the desk there. Wow, camera's shaking again. Um, yeah, any opinions?
Not really.
No, nobody cares.
No, it wasn't that. I don't care. Um, no, I don't
There
have
was a
any
lot
opinion on
there.
it though.
Yeah, there was a lot
Yeah.
there. And yeah, it's if you weren't already like at least aware of the Catholic Church over the past couple of decades, then it might not be as interesting. Well, almost certainly it would not be as interesting as I perhaps found it. But yeah, it's so they're oh
You done
um
with that one,
there
Mark?
have been um
Okay. Go ahead.
there have been instances in the past where um there has been um a conflict, a disagreement in the Catholic Church that has resulted in some higher um, higher level clergy being excommunicated or kicked out and effectively parallel church forming. There's been um, well an anti-pope as a person who claims to be the Pope or the Bishop of Rome, as they call it. Well, the Bishop of Rome is the title. The Pope is the name that what they're called. But um, so yeah, bishop, person who claims to be Pope in opposition to the officially elected Pope. So that's not something that is happening right here, right now. But um, in the past, there have been entirely different church hierarchies running. Um, but that was in a time period where um, communication across long distances was difficult. So they wouldn't necessarily have been able to get back and forth the information and square things up with each other and figure out their disagreements.
Church.
Um,
When you
but that's
say
not,
church hierarchy,
yeah.
uh, sounds a little cultish. What church controls it?
I mean, the Catholic Church has a whole system of, I
I
mean,
get it. I get it.
yeah, there's
Um,
the
just a
laity,
thought.
and then the priests, and then above the priests are bishops, and then above the bishops are archbishops, and then above the archbishops are cardinals, and then the
Damn.
cardinals elect from amongst themselves one who becomes the pope, or the arch or the bishop of Rome. Yeah, so the bishop is over a city, I guess, right? And then the one who's over Rome is yeah, Rome's been a big deal. It's
Um,
kind of a complicated history in Christianity that's not too interesting to people who aren't Christians, but um yeah, there's a complicated history as to why the Catholic Church is the way it is and why it is different from the Orthodox and the Eastern Church, the various Orthodox churches, and why all of those are different from the Protestant. Um, so yeah, that's not something to go into now. But historically, there have been, so this might give rise to a complete separation. I don't know. I don't think that's likely because these conservative traditionalist bishops are not um I don't know if they are they explicitly rejecting the authority of Pope Leo, or are they rejecting the reforms he instituted? Because if they're not rejecting him as the Pope and not electing from amongst themselves one to be a an anti-pope, then um yeah, then they're just gonna be in deep doo-doo with the the big guy in the or the head honcho of the Catholics, but and kind of on the fringes of their whole hierarchy, but not entirely out. I don't know. It's interesting. It's if anybody who's watching is a Catholic and has some input, um,
please let me know.
anybody who happens to find this interesting, I hope somebody found it interesting at least. I kind of feel like I'm talking to myself about
Uh,
rambling. Well, I do ramble a lot.
I
Anyway,
didn't lose interest, but I lost track of where we were at certain points. And yeah, I'll just say that.
the ADD.
Um, what I do remember
Uh,
were good things, but there's a lot that I don't remember. Uh,
there's a lot I don't
yeah,
remember too.
history and religion.
There's a
I
lot of
forgot
it.
what the subject was already.
There's a lot. There's a lot of, yeah.
Uh,
But in the 60s, the Pope, when they're saying Vatican II,
oh yeah,
there was a lot of reforms that he instituted that were kind of progressivizing the Catholic Church, which in the early part of the 20th century was seen in the modern viewpoint as kind of super traditional and like the uh, uh I don't know. Um,
all right.
The,
Mm.
I mean, yeah, among the most conservative of the conservative of the Christian denominations. And then it comes in Vatican II. I mean, yeah, first half of the 20th century, were still performing Mass in Latin as they had unbroken since the beginning of the church and stuff. And it was only in the 1960s with Vatican II that they started performing the Catholic Mass in their own languages for all of these people. So, um, you know, modernizing was what they did there. Um, so, Pookie, something.
Um, yeah, I was. Were you finished with that article?
Finished enough to move on.
Oh,
I could
okay.
keep
No,
pulling things out of thin air and oh wait, yeah, I
I
remember.
got
I can
something.
talk about that. There's that other fact over there.
I got
Let's
something.
do something
It
else.
says Baltimore daughter who inherited her dad's home takes on $228,000 bill that she says belongs to the entire neighborhood. A Baltimore daughter who inherited her late dad's home claims she has been threatened with having her water cut off as she took on a $228,000 water bill she says belongs to her entire neighborhood, reports say. Christina Moore was left mystified when she spotted a note plastered on the front of her door of her childhood home in April, warning her that her water will be switched off if the hefty debt wasn't paid within 45 days. Moore has been footed with the bill as the 37 home neighborhood, which is part of the Springwood Estates Homeowners Association, has just 1 meter and it's linked to her address. Wow. This despite the fact that homeowners calculate the amount of water they use and pay their share to the homeowners association. Then HOA official uses the money to pay bills off issued by Baltimore City Department of Public Works. The bewildered residents sought answers from HOA officials and the DPW as she tried to rectify the issue. I actually thought initially that it wouldn't be my responsibility to pay, so I contacted the HOA. Moore said. Moore turned to the DPW and was told she had to foot the bill. They're telling me my property is responsible for this whole bill and I can't sell until it's paid in full, she claimed. Hmm. A payment plan has been since created, but Moore was reportedly told the notice would remain in place until the bill has been covered in full. Moore's residents have been left baffled by the saga. It makes no sense, one told the WBFF. We should all have our own bills, another outlet told. Meanwhile, Moore said she feels, in quote, let down by the saga has been handled. This is my childhood home. I work in the city, so I feel let down by the city. I think it's sad. Officials at Baltimore City Department of Public Works said it couldn't talk. Said it couldn't talk about a in quote specific customer's water account unless it had prior authorization. That's a
It's messed
lot of
up.
water. It's almost $250,000 in water. Uh, yeah,
It's
I
just,
don't think that's right that you could inherit a bill like that. Mm,
yeah,
mm.
that's just messed up.
I don't think I've used that much water in my life. I'm 36. Well, I don't know, 228 million. One person don't do that. Um,
a lot of
Yeah.
swimming pools.
Yeah. Can
Yeah,
you swim?
Can I swim? Yes,
Yeah. Oh, okay. Just asking.
I
Did
swam
you
all
have
my
something to
life.
say, Mark? Oh, nice. Uh, I didn't swim because of obvious reasons.
I haven't
Uh,
been swimming in years, but yeah, I love to swim.
yeah, me too. I haven't swum in generations, decades. Uh, anyhow, were you saying something, Mark? Oh, uh, thoughts on the topic?
did I miss how they got to that number of 280,000? Was I just like,
Um,
There's one water meter for the whole neighborhood, and it's registered to her address.
uh,
I don't understand. Like, why, how is that,
how do
how
they
is
do
that not,
that?
how is that not an issue for her father before inheriting this? How did it work with the HOA before she came to it? Or was he just not paying it and brushing it off and building up this bill? And now they just got to the point where they're saying, okay, we're gonna collect, and it happened to have been um, after she had inherited it. Like, how did,
I think they, I think they said that everyone would like pay their money for their share to the homeowners association, and then the homeowners association would pay the bill,
right,
like
so how is
monthly.
the
Mm.
homeowners association not paying the bill this time? Who pocketed
Yes,
that? Who in HOA pocketed that money?
That's what I was thinking too. Somebody else took the money and didn't pay the bill.
No. Homeowners associations are sketchy as fuck. Never trust your HOA to be acting in goodwill over anything at all.
Mm.
The HOA is your enemy,
Um,
yeah. I
except except in the instances where they prove otherwise, and only in those instances after they have proven so. And then once that event is over, they are your enemy for the next event. Oh gosh,
mm,
You okay?
okay.
yeah, I just hate HOA. No, it's not that they're
Yeah.
all not that bad, but I had a bad HOA experience, and yeah, it triggers feelings.
I know when I was looking for a house at one point in time, it was like if it has a homeowners association, I don't even want to look at it.
Yeah, yeah. When I was going to buy my house, that's what I was saying, one of my criteria. But there's nothing on the market that did not have an HOA that was anywhere near where I needed to be or the price
That
range that I
sucks.
wanted, you know. If I
Mm.
could have afforded to buy like 10 acres, yeah, I could have but no, not for a first time home buyer on a single income. Kitty
Mm.
says meow.
Uh,
So there you go.
Tell Kitty hi.
Hi, Kitty.
I have an article that for some reason just isn't loading right. I'm gonna send it to you, Mark.
Oh, oh,
um, Let me know if that works for you. And read that one out for me, please.
I'm doing all, it feels like I'm doing all the reading.
Not really.
It's more than half. Definitely more than half. It's fine.
But less than 3/4.
I love you anyway, Pookie.
Thank you. The love is mutual.
Okay. Hold on. Kitty, stop messing with the microphone. Kitty. Okay. Is she headbutting it and will not stop? Kitty. Okay. Wildfire smoke. Linked to, whoa, so many pop-ups all at once. Why do they? Um, Wildfire smoke linked to dramatic drop in IVF pregnancy success. Uh, your baby plans could be up in the air. Haha, I see what they did there. As millions of Americans brace for another day cloaked in wildfire smoke, experts are warning that the haze may be clouding more than the horizon. It could also affect couples' chance of getting pregnant. In one recent study, researchers found that when New Yorkers woke up to an eerie orange skies in the summer of 2023, women undergoing IVF saw a steep decline in embryo transfer success rates. The team analyzed 190 embryo transfers performed at a New York fertility center between June 1st and July 31st as smoke from massive Canadian wildfires descended on the state and sent New York City's air quality levels plummeting. For each procedure, the team looked at the local air quality index on the day of the embryo transfer, then compared pregnancy outcomes based on whether the air was considered good, moderate, or unhealthy. They also accounted for other factors that can influence IVF success, including the woman's age and embryo quality. What they found paints a troubling picture. Tiny pollution particles could play a role when uh, tiny pollution particles could play a role. When air quality was considered good, about 62% of embryo transfers resulted in pregnancy. On days with moderate air quality, the rate was slightly higher at 65%, though researchers said the difference wasn't statistically significant. Yeah, that's. But when the AQI reached unhealthy levels, the kind of conditions seen during the worst wildfire smoke days, pregnancy dropped to just 27%. Okay. That's statistically significant. That
Definitely.
is tremendously statistically significant. Undeniably statistically significant.
I was
We
watching
saw,
a show with people who were trying to do that IVF stuff. That stuff is expensive. And yeah, they were losing one and two. Well, I mean, having miscarriages, have like two and still try for a third. I'd be hurt by the second. But to have the smoke be the reason you can't, it's wildfire season for us, if I didn't say that already. So, yeah. Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
no, uh, I don't remember what I okay, we saw that even though the fires were not necessarily directly in our own backyard, the smoke from so many miles away could have a negative impact. Study author Dr. Randy Goldman, attending physician and program director for the Reproductive Endocrinology and Infertility Fellowship Program at Northwell Fertility, told the Post. My hypothesis is that it doesn't have to do with the actual lab itself or the transfer itself, but more in the days leading up to it and the days after it, she said. The person who has had the person who had that embryo transfer is then exposed to these potential environmental issues. Why doesn't she just say the woman who had that embryo transfer? Goldman theorized. And then it might be kind of that larger issue that contributing to the success rates. The IVF or the study didn't prove exactly why wildfire smoke may be linked to lower IVF success, but the researchers believe tiny pollution particles in the smoke could play a role. Yeah, particulate pollution is big. Um, Wildfire smoke contains microscopic particles known as PM 2.5 that can travel deep into the lungs and enter the bloodstream. These particles are already known to pose health risks, and the study authors said they could potentially affect fertility by triggering inflammation and oxidative stress in the body. The researchers wrote that it's, quote, biologically plausible that short term exposure to these particles could interfere with implantation. The crucial moment could interfere with implantation, the crucial moment when an embryo attaches to the uterus. It's important for anybody undergoing fertility treatment or any reproductive health treatment to think about this as something that's important. While embryo transfers aren't always possible to reschedule, the researchers said air quality could be another factor doctors and patients consider when planning treatment. On days which AQI is particularly poor, one could consider embryo cryopreservation and defer embryo transfer to a future date when air quality is improved, the study authors wrote. Goldman also urged patients to reduce other environmental exposures before and after an embryo transfer. Quote, nothing is, sorry, just felt the VNS. Haven't felt it, noticed it going off in a while, so.
Is that a good thing?
Huh?
Is that a good thing?
I would think it's a good thing if it's, yeah, that it's working or functioning and I haven't been feeling it, haven't been noticing it going off. Yeah, except on the rare occasion. I guess I'm not usually talking, so I didn't feel it except for, yeah, except for the fact that I was talking there. So, yeah. Um, Nothing, or quote, nothing is going to come close to the negative impact of tobacco smoke and smoking cigarettes on outcomes, she said. And on days where air quality might be unhealthy. Today is a really, really bad day in New York, for example. Stay inside. For people who must go outdoors during periods of poor air quality, Goldman said a properly fitted KN95 mask may help reduce exposure. She also recommended using a high quality HEPA air filters indoors. That would be very, very helpful because it's really the ambient air around us that's potentially having an input, she said. Impact, she said. We studied it only on the day of the embryo transfer itself, but the days before and the days after the embryo transfer probably have an impact too. While the findings were notable, the study had some limitations. It involved only one fertility clinic, for example, and looked at a relatively small number of embryo transfers. Still, Goldman said the findings highlight the need for more research into how air pollution may affect fertility. There needs to be more research on this topic. It's not something that you hang your hat on. You never do that with a single study, she said. But I think it really starts the conversation for a potential modifiable modifiable factor that we have in the reproductive health world. The findings come as large parts of the country face another round of Smoke drifting south from Canada and the Great Lakes region. On Thursday,
Mm.
New York City's air quality dipped below Delhi's, reaching, quote, very unhealthy levels that, quote, may cause health issues for everyone, especially sensitive groups. Huh. So it's not just, not just those at risk, it's everybody, especially those at risk. Quote, every New Yorker should take precautions, Mayor Zoran Mamdani says. Hey, our buddy Mamdani. Advertising them to stay indoors whenever possible and limit strenuous outdoor activities. Cool. And with that, it's vacation time. Oh, I already took it. Huh. Okay. So yeah. Um, that's interesting. I mean, I would imagine that it's not just IVF, right? Why would it
Yeah.
necessarily be only IVF conception that an implantation that is impacted by it? Why would it not also be natural conception that
Mm.
is impacted similarly in the same exact way, right?
Right. Maybe they
I'm not,
just want the statistics from.
yeah, well, it's only, that's all the data they have, so and it's the most easily accessed data for them because they have all of the information about before, during, and after every single attempt. They don't have that for women who are attempting to conceive naturally. So, no, Kitty. Um, so wow, Kitty. So um, yeah.
I got another article here.
Hmm.
I got another article here. Don't know how long it is, but it says rapist who faked death and fled to the UK to avoid jail dies at age 38.
Okay. Mm. And the world is better for it, I would say, that he
Nicholas
died.
Rossi, an American fugitive who faked cancer and fled to Scotland to avoid jail, has died at age 38. The Utah Department of Corrections said he had been suffering from chronic degenerative conditions while in custody, according to the BBC. Rossi, who is who was seen on oxygen and in a wheelchair at trial, had spent years on the run after attacking a former girlfriend in Utah in 2008. Wow. He was found guilty of raping two women at a separate trial last year, but denied the allegations and claimed the women were lying. A, a UDC spokesperson confirmed he had died at a local hospital on Thursday night after his ongoing medical issues. They said Rossi died from complications of an existing medical condition after choosing to discontinue medical treatment. This notification follows communication with Rossi's family and his victims. Rossi was sentenced to 5 years to life after being described as a, in quote, serial abuser of women and, in quote, the very definition of a flight risk by the judge in Salt Lake City. After being arrested, he insisted he was the victim of mistaken identity and that he was Irish-born orphan named Arthur Knight, who was being framed and had never been to the U.S. Utah authorities had started searching for Rossi when he was identified through a decade old DNA rape kit in 2018. He faked his death in 2020 after being charged, posting an online obituary claiming he had succumbed to the late stage non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. That same year, he married a woman he met in Bristol, and the pair moved to Glasgow together. Rossi was finally caught when staff at a Glasgow hospital recognized him from a police wanted notice as he received a treatment for COVID in 2021. Despite his claims of mistaken identity, in Edinburgh, court determined he was
Edinburgh.
Rossi in Edinburgh, or um, what you said. The court determined that Rossi and an extradition warrant was signed. He was finally sent to the U.S. in January of 2024. One victim who gave evidence in his trial was praised for her, in quote, courage in confronting Rossi years after the attack took place. In quote, this is not a plea for vengeance, she said. This is a plea for safety and accountability for the recognition of the damage that will never fully heal. She told the court Rossi had left a trail of fear, pain, and destruction behind. That is it. Yeah, the picture of this fool here. Uh, yeah, let's
It
see.
seems like such a weird sentence to have. Like 5 years to life. This seems like such a broad,
It's a very broad
yeah.
sentence.
They
It's
might
like
be like, if you can live that,
I
then
don't
you got
know.
life.
Generally, courts would still hand down a sort of symbolic sentence to like, right? Because I mean they've done things like sentencing someone to consecutive life sentences, right? So you serve one life in prison, and then after that, you start serving another life in like imprisonment. So it's like it's
Life is
never gonna
25 years,
actually
correct?
practically mean anything, but it's still like effectively gonna, well, yeah, mean something more than just, okay.
Yeah.
It's like an
Consecutive life
acknowledgement.
sentences, you are going to be there till the day you die.
Yeah, no, I
Mm.
mean, yeah, and I mean, they could do that with life without the possibility of parole, like just one sentence alone, but consecutive life sentences is like, really, this is
You
not
really screwed
just,
up.
this is not just to make sure you're in prison for life. This is you are the worst of the worst, and yeah, we wish we could hand down a death penalty sentence, probably, but we can't.
Yeah,
Um,
he
Yeah.
died.
yeah,
Uh,
um, yeah.
yeah, this article was June 26th. Um, yeah, so now we know.
And
Man
so
down.
I guess maybe that's a thing over in England, or the UK, I guess I should say, Scotland, Edinburgh. So the um the sentencing norms and standards that we're used to over here uh, wouldn't be customary over there. So 5 to life might be a thing, a normal thing over there um, maybe the 5 is just a very, very minimum lowest threshold, and it really in practice is going to be a lot longer. Um, but I don't know. Still,
It
Mhm.
just seems odd.
Yeah, but they couldn't
Uh,
charge him and convict him based on crimes he was charged for over here, though. Anyway, so that might be why what we see as being really soft, light touch might be just because, I don't know. Maybe I missed it. Did they say anything about why he was arrested and
Um,
imprisoned over there? And
he got
is he,
he got sent back.
oh,
Um, yeah,
he's
he had to get.
extradited?
Oh, I might as well just send the picture of the article or send the article. Yeah, he came back. Oh no, he got caught because he did the try to get his DNA thing. You know how they do that 23andMe stuff? They can find your family a long time ago.
Is
Genetic
not
Turn
doing
them in.
well,
genealogy.
I guess, right?
There
Not a
we
bright
go.
criminal.
Right. Not bright at all. But he passed. Uh,
No,
yeah. Send you that. There you go. Anyhow, we got
mm.
another article here.
I have one.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, hold on. I have them all lined up here.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Go
because
ahead.
yeah, I planned ahead. I actually got things organized. All the links that I sent you have pulled up, and I'm closing the tabs as I'm reading them, so we're not getting clogged up and backed up. So here we go.
Okay.
This one seems like it should have been obvious, but we still got to study it anyway. Combining marijuana and music enhances medical benefits, reduces prescription drug use, and boosts emotions. Government funded study shows. So somebody somewhere got paid to smoke weed and listen to music.
And
That's
they were
been
And
my
more
last
charge
several
interested in
them
the
days.
weed.
to do that. That's some top tier research right there. Ah, yes. A new government funded study is putting quantifiable evidence behind the idea that marijuana use enhances the experience of listening to music.
I can vouch for that one.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
who are we to say, right? That's all anecdotal, but, you know,
I mean,
yeah.
you sound better when I'm smoking weed too. And I'm usually smoking.
Yeah, the new research also suggests that the combination can bolster the therapeutic benefits of cannabis. So it goes both ways, right? The cannabis makes the music better, the music makes the cannabis better. Oh boy, this is exciting. A study published in the journal Cannabis and Cannabinoid Research and conducted by researchers at Dalhousie University, I don't know, and other schools in Canada. So apologies, as usual, for pronunciation. Dalhousie, Dalhousie University. I don't know. That's
Whose house?
hmm. Examined self-reported data from 122 marijuana consumers who completed an exhaustive 176-question survey. The findings support one of the most anecdotally well-established effects of marijuana use that is, quote, most participants viewed the combination of cannabis and music favorably, reporting enhanced relaxation, improved mood, and increased feelings of connection. Yeah. Marijuana use was further linked to, quote, altered responses to imposed music in various settings and a heightened likelihood of using music during routine activities. Okay, that was likelihood of using music during routine activities. That seems like a really weird variable. How how likely are you to listen to music while doing random house chores?
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I listen to music when I'm editing videos, which is 90% of the day. Um, I keep an
I'm
ear
much
pod
more
in.
productive.
Yeah, it's easier to edit videos when you keep an ear pod in, listening to music. Like I'm listening and I'm editing on the computer, and I'm probably smoking and probably vaping the whole time, just listening to music and it's supposed to be. I can't focus on one thing for some reason. It's easier to focus on two because you don't have your mind wandering about a second thing. I don't know if you understand that, but it's like if I'm watching TV, then my mind is thinking about something else. So then I forget what's on TV. And then I go back and forth from forgetting to going back and forgetting and going back. But if I'm editing a video and I'm also watching TV, I keep one ear pod in. So I'm listening to the other TV, but I'm editing and also listening to it. I can do that perfectly, but I cannot focus on one thing. Lose track of what that one thing I was talking about 5 minutes ago was.
That's when the
Oh,
squirrels grab your brain and run off with it.
right. They bring it back and oh yeah, that's what I was thinking about
Yeah.
when I
Mm.
don't need the information anymore.
Mm.
Yeah, that's me. Um, Go ahead.
Okay. Specifically, the study found 93% of participants view combining cannabis and music favorably. And what the heck is going on with that 7%, man? Nut jobs. And 74% said they use marijuana more than half of the time they're listening to music. Yeah, okay. As far as the emotional impact of combining cannabis and music goes, the majority of respondents said it makes them happier, 71%, more lively, also 71%, more relaxed with 70%, less fearful at 61%, less angry at 54%. I would have expected higher anger or higher percentage reporting reduced anger, right?
I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Um, Less angry and more nostalgic at 57%. So, compared to a control group that took the same survey, marijuana consumers were more likely to incorporate music into daily activities such as bathing, exercising, and getting ready for bed. Quote, cannabis appeared to amplify music's emotional impact, particularly in mood regulation, evocation of nostalgia, and integration of music into everyday routine. The researchers said, oh, the researchers said, music may act as a meaningful emotional adjunct during cannabis use. Yeah, I can I can endorse that statement. Um, A somewhat more novel discovery from the survey results concerned the therapeutic efficacy of the cannabis music combination. Participants, quote, frequently reported the use of cannabis as a substitute for pharmaceutical treatments for pain, anxiety, and sleep disorders. Yes, with music further amplifying these therapeutic effects. The study, which looked at use patterns, musical engagement activities, emotional responses, and more, found among those who use cannabis, significant portions said it serves as a substitute for pharmaceuticals, including sleeping pills, 28%, anti anxiety medication, 18%, Antidepressants was 16%, opioids were 12%, and non-opioid pain medicine was 6%. I'm surprised those numbers aren't a little bit higher. But I guess that's among those who use cannabis, not those who use cannabis medicinally, right? So
100%.
they're not necessarily exclusively looking at medical marijuana use. At least if parsing the language of that sentence that strictly is what the author intended to say. I don't know. Maybe that's not what they meant, but that's the only reason I can think of those numbers not being higher. Because only 28% of medical marijuana users saying it can serve as a substitute for pharmaceutical sleeping pill or
Where they
anxiety
get these
meds.
people they tested at?
No, I don't know. The study author said, oh wait, that was at that university, right? The awkward pronunciation. Dalhousie University and other schools in Canada would be where they got these people. Um, uh, the study said, quote, no significant differences were observed in overall music reward experiences with or without cannabis. However, highlighting highlighting the nuanced and context-dependent nature of these interactions. Quote, these findings provide novel insights into the potential for cannabis and music to act as complementary tools for emotional well-being, underscoring the need for further research to elucidate the mechanisms underlying their combined effects. This study provides a foundation for future investigations into the therapeutic integration of music as a supportive adjunct to cannabinoid-based interventions targeting emotional and psychological health. Oliver Valentin, an assistant professor of audiology at Dalhousie University, and one of the authors of the study, told Marijuana Moment that, quote, despite countless anecdotal reports and despite cannabis now being legal and widely used across Canada, science still knows remarkably little about how it shapes the way we hear and appreciate music. People often assume cannabis changes music perception itself, he said. Our finding our findings suggest something more nuanced. Participants didn't report major changes in how they perceive the music, but they did report that it became more emotionally meaningful. Cannabis seemed to amplify the emotional experience of music rather than the sound itself. Given the strong interest in putting science behind the shape or the shared consumer experience, Canadian researchers at Toronto Metropolitan University published a study in 2024 that highlights the profound yet idiosyncratic effects of cannabis on auditory experiences among experienced recreational cannabis users. Experienced users. Whereas the study involved asking participants to reflect on their past experiences being high and listening to music, a team set out on a follow-up project last year that gave them an opportunity to ask consumers about their enjoyment and absorption of music while directly under the influence of marijuana. Speaking to the underlying relationship between music and cannabis, a U.S. government-supported study published this year found that more than a third of popular hip hop and rap music videos referenced marijuana in 2024. They needed to fund a government study to figure that out.
That's comical.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
they do have a lot of videos with weed in it.
Yeah, I mean, that's artists like Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre helped drive that trend, promoting a
Yeah.
chilled lifestyle,
Uh,
the researchers said.
might have to cut it short.
But
Andrea's company. Uh,
but yeah, this is pretty interesting, I think.
we can
The
keep going.
we can call it here, 3.5 hours.
I mean, we're
Um,
at a good point. We can keep
yep,
going.
that's a good stopping point.
Oh,
We can
okay.
pick up next time, resume on Wednesday to hear Andrea's thoughts on this article. How about that?
Yeah, you guys, we're gonna try to get Andrea to get on the mic and see you guys. What's today? See you guys on Wednesday. And everybody
Wednesday,
have
12
a great day.
noon Pacific, or no, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. I was gonna say it the other way, and then no. Yeah.
adios, folks.